Okay, let's unpack this. Especially for you, our aspiring entrepreneurs. You're always looking for that edge, right? Those
Mhm.
practical, ready-made tips to not just grow your business, but really make it thrive. Well, today, we've got a treasure trove of insights from, well, a classic source, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Exactly. It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
And this deep dive, it's all about pulling out those core principles, the really actionable stuff. It's definitely not just theory. Think of it as a practical guide to the human side of business. It shows how mastering people skills is, well, like John D. Rockefeller put it, the highest priced ability under the sun.
Right. So our mission today is to distill the most impactful strategies from Carnegie, turning that, timeless wisdom into advice you can actually use on your entrepreneurial journey, like starting now.
Absolutely.
But before we jump into the how, let's really get the why. Carnegie, he started out teaching public speaking back in 1912. But what did he quickly figure out was maybe even more important for business folks?
Yeah, that's interesting. He saw pretty fast that, okay, speaking effectively matters, but people needed still more training in the fine art of getting along with people, in everyday business and social life. That realization, it really shifted everything for him. It led to these principles that have stuck around for, what, almost a century now. Translated everywhere, constantly rediscovered. It shows that human relations, they're not just nice to haves, they're fundamental.
And it wasn't just Carnegie saying it. You mentioned Rockefeller.
Right.
What's that quote again? The one about dealing with people that really highlights its value for someone starting a business.
Right. Rockefeller said he'd pay more for that ability to deal with people than for any other under the sun. I mean, that's a massive endorsement. And the book, it's full of examples, people who actually used these ideas and got real results, like boosting sales, landing new clients, getting promotions, big salary bumps. There's even a story about this executive, 65 years old, about to be demoted because he was so, well, difficult, belligerent. He applied these skills, saved his job, and actually got promoted. That's, bottom line impact.
So we're not just talking about being nice here or, soft skills. This is really about strategic human understanding, stuff that leads to tangible business growth, for building your team, winning over clients, and unlocking what Professor William James called those dormant and unused assets, both in yourself and crucially in others.
Exactly. It's about leveraging the human element strategically.
Okay, let's get into those ready-made tips. First one up for entrepreneurs. Cultivate a criticism-free zone. Now, this one's interesting. Why does criticizing or complaining, even when you think you're right, often backfire?
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? The human response to criticism is almost always defensive. Carnegie points to examples like Two Gun Crowley, Al Capone, even President Taft. They rarely blame themselves, right? Criticism, as the book says, it does not make lasting changes and often incurs resentment. Lincoln learned that the hard way early on. He almost fought a duel over criticism. Later, he learned to hold back, even with generals who messed up, like Meade after Gettysburg. He knew sending a critical letter would just make Meade defensive and resentful.
Okay. So for building a team or dealing with clients today, what does that mean? It means maybe shifting the focus.
Exactly. Focus on problem solving. Use friendly inquiry, like that example of George B. Johnston. Instead of ordering workers to wear hard hats, he asked them if the hats were uncomfortable, how they could be improved. He got compliance without the resentment.
Right. So maybe instead of why did you break the build, it's more like, hey, let's look at this deployment issue together. Any ideas on how we can make it smoother next time? Preserve that trust.
Precisely. Foster an environment where people feel safe to solve the problem, not just defend themselves.
Okay, so if criticism is out, what's the powerful alternative? Tip number 2, empower with sincere appreciation. Why is this so critical, especially when you're starting out, maybe with a small, dedicated team?
William James called that craving to be appreciated the deepest principle in human nature. It's fundamental, a real hunger. And the key word is sincere. Carnegie draws a sharp line between real appreciation, which comes from the heart out, and flattery, which is just from the teeth out. People can usually tell the difference. Look at Charles Schwab, millionaire steel executive, huge salary back then. He credited a lot of his success to dealing with people. He said people do better work and put forth greater effort under a spirit of approval than he would ever do under a spirit of criticism.
That's huge. And the example of Pamela Dunham, the supervisor who turned around the janitor's performance.
Yeah, that's a great one. She stopped criticizing his sloppy work and started praising the few things he did do well, specifically and in front of others. His whole attitude and performance changed.
So for you, the entrepreneur listening, this means actively looking for specific, genuine things to praise. In your team, your co-founders, maybe even early clients, it's not just fluff. It's actually a performance driver.
Absolutely. It fuels motivation like little else.
Okay, building on appreciation. Tip 3, make others feel genuinely important. This feels related, but maybe goes a step further. Is it just a nicety or is it strategic?
Oh, it's definitely strategic. It taps into that universal desire to be important. Remember the story about the elderly woman who gave away her expensive Packard car?
Vaguely, yeah.
She gave it to an attorney, not because he asked, but simply because he genuinely admired beautiful things. And crucially, he recognized her good taste in owning the car. He made her feel important for her discernment. Or think about Chris, that shy student. His teacher saw something, moved him to an advanced class, told him he had potential. It validated him, made him feel important, and he blossomed.
So for an entrepreneur, this translates to what? Recognizing contributions, obviously, but maybe more.
Yeah, recognizing contributions, giving real responsibility, but also small gestures. Like that restaurant manager, she had a key staff member about to quit.
Right.
Instead of just accepting it, she pulled her aside and said, "You are as important to the success of this restaurant as I am."
Mm.
Made her feel indispensable. The employee stayed, became even more reliable. It creates loyalty, that sense of belonging.
That feeling of ownership, you can't really buy
Yeah.
that. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Communication and persuasion, super important for sales, networking, getting your message out there. Tip 4, speak to their interests, not just your own. This sounds almost too obvious, but why do we mess it up so often?
Well, because we're all naturally self-focused. Carnegie quotes that study, the most used word in phone calls, Aisha. We're just wired to think about ourselves morning, noon, and after dinner, as he puts it. Look at Theodore Roosevelt. He made it a point to research his guests beforehand, find out what they cared about, what they treasured, and then talk about that. Build instant goodwill. Or that salesman, Duvernoy, trying to sell bread to a hotel. 4 years, no luck. Then he found out the manager was passionate about this hotel association, the Hotel Greeters of America. Started talking about that. Suddenly he gets an order. Never even mentioned bread in that conversation.
Wow, that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much business are you losing because you're talking about your awesome product features instead of what genuinely excites your potential client? Like Edward Harriman landing that job with the inaccessible tycoon.
Exactly. R.J. Funkhauser. Harriman researched him, figured out he was driven by power and making money. So Harriman didn't talk about his own needs. He just said, "I believe I can make money for you." Spoke directly to Funkhauser's core interest. Got the job.
Okay, so you figured out their interests. You're talking their language. Now what? How do you actually get them to do something? Tip 5, arouse an eager want. What does this really mean in practice for an entrepreneur?
Henry Ford nailed it. He said it's about the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own. It's about making them want to do the thing you're suggesting. It serves their purpose. Carnegie tells that story about negotiating rent for his lecture hall. The hotel manager wanted to triple the rent. Instead of arguing about his own budget, Carnegie listed all the pros and cons for the hotel if they held his popular lectures there versus renting it out for, say, dances. He framed it entirely from the manager's perspective.
And he got the rent lowered significantly, right?
Yeah.
Without even directly asking for a lower price initially.
Exactly. He made the manager want to keep his business there because it was advantageous to the hotel.
So for you listening, think about Barbara Anderson getting all those job offers. Her letter wasn't about, "I need a job." It was all about, "Here's how my experience can specifically help your bank." That's pure gold for landing clients, motivating your team. Carnegie even uses the example of getting a kid excited about kindergarten by listing all the fun things the kid would get to do there. It's about making the desired action appealing to them.
Making it their idea, almost. Or at least aligning it perfectly with their desires.
Okay, moving on. We spend so much time crafting our message, figuring out what to say, but maybe one of the most powerful tools is just listening. Tip 6, become a deep listener. Why is this so effective?
Well, Carnegie says, few human beings are proof against the implied flattery of rapt attention. Think about that. Just truly listening is flattering. Sigmund Freud was apparently amazing at this, known for his concentrated attention, really valuing what people said, even if they said it poorly. And there's that story of Julian Detmer, the Woolen Company guy. Customer storms in, furious, ready to cancel a big account. Detmer just sat back, let the guy vent, didn't interrupt, just listened patiently until the customer ran out of steam.
And then what happened?
The customer calmed down, apologized, and actually became an even more loyal customer. Detmer didn't really do anything except listen intently and validate the man's feelings by hearing him out.
So it's more than just like not talking. It's actively absorbing, letting someone feel completely heard. That can diffuse anger, build connection.
Absolutely. It can turn an angry customer around or help you understand a struggling team member. Resist that urge to jump in immediately with solutions or defenses. Just listen first, deeply.
Okay, let's talk about the tough stuff. Disagreements, mistakes, they happen in any venture. It's unavoidable. How do we handle them without burning bridges or killing morale? Tip 7. Admit your mistakes and soften disagreements.
Yeah, Carnegie's pretty blunt here. You can't win an argument. He says avoid them like rattlesnakes and earthquakes. Strong words. Instead of digging in and telling someone they're flat out wrong, try the approach. Well, look, I may be wrong. I often am. Let's examine the facts together. It completely disarms people. And if you are wrong, admit it, quickly and emphatically. He stresses that. It's not weak. It actually builds huge trust and integrity. Think about Robert E. Lee after Gettysburg. All this has been my fault. I and I alone have lost this battle. That takes courage.
It really goes against instinct, doesn't it? We want to defend ourselves. But the book shows, like with that drawing instructor example, when someone criticizes themselves first, others often jump to their defense and always, always begin in a friendly way. Woodrow Wilson's point. Come with fists up, you get fists back. But start with counsel, with understanding.
A drop of honey catches more flies than a gallon of gall. It's about preserving the relationship, keeping dialogue open, even when things get difficult. Crucial for any entrepreneur managing teams or partnerships.
Okay, shifting to leadership style. Good leaders inspire action, they don't just dictate it. How can entrepreneurs get things done without always resorting to direct orders? Tip 8. Lead by asking, not demanding.
Owen D. Young at GE. He was famous for this.
Yeah.
Apparently, he almost never gave a direct order. He'd say things like, you might consider this, or do you think that would work? Carnegie explains that this approach, it stimulates the creativity of the people you ask. It makes them feel part of the decision, so they're way more likely to buy in and execute well. Remember Ian McDonald, the plant manager in South Africa, faced that huge, seemingly impossible order. Instead of just demanding everyone work overtime.
He gathered the team, right?
Exactly. Laid out the challenge and asked them, how can we handle this? They came up with a plan, felt ownership over it, and actually delivered on time. They rose to the challenge because it was their challenge, too.
That fosters incredible ownership and engagement. It flips, do this, into how can we achieve this? That's how you build a truly collaborative and innovative culture, which is vital for a growing business.
It really is. Leverage that collective brain power.
All right, last tip, and it's a powerful one, the power of belief. Tip 9, inspire greatness by belief, or, as Carnegie puts it, give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. How does this actually work?
Well, this one can be genuinely transformative. Think about Georgette LeBlanc and Marie the dishwasher. LeBlanc started treating Marie not as a dishwasher, but as someone special, a tabernacle of unseen marvels. She gave her this new image, this reputation, and Marie started acting the part. Her whole demeanor changed. Or Dr. Fitzhugh, the dentist, and his cleaner, Bridget. He didn't criticize her okay but not great cleaning. He praised what she did do well, then mentioned how he sometimes bragged about how well she kept the place polished, suggesting maybe an extra half hour sometimes for those once-in-a-while tasks.
And she ended up doing a much better job without actually taking extra time, right?
Exactly. He gave her a reputation. The amazing cleaner who makes my office shine. And she lived up to it. She internalized his belief in her capability.
Wow. Imagine using that with your team, your partners, even your kids. Like Mrs. Hopkins, that 4th grade teacher, with Tommy T, the bad boy.
Yeah, she didn't focus on his reputation. She told him she saw him as a natural leader and needed his help. Changed everything for him. He became a leader, a good student.
So for you, the entrepreneur, actively believing in your people's potential and actually telling them you see it can unlock performance you might not have thought possible. It cultivates dedication.
It really does. But remember, none of this is about, like, quick fixes or manipulation. Carnegie stresses these principles require time and persistence and daily application. It's about building habits.
Right. He suggested using the book like a working handbook, constantly reviewing and applying. It's about developing a whole new way of interacting, a new way of life.
By consciously practicing these things, giving that sincere appreciation, really listening to a client, seeing things from their angle in a negotiation, that's when you start tapping into those dormant and unused assets Professor Dre's talk about, in yourself and in the people around you.
So there you have it, a deep dive into some truly powerful principles for building relationships and achieving success. For you, the aspiring entrepreneur, remember, these aren't just soft skills. They really are the foundation for influence, for loyalty, for sustainable growth in your venture.
Indeed. And the ability to deal effectively with people. It's not some magic gift. It's a skill. You can learn it, practice it, get better at it. And it's just as valuable, maybe more valuable than any technical business strategy. Focusing on appreciation, empathy, genuine interest. You're not just building a company, you're building a powerful network of human connection.
Absolutely. And here's maybe a final thought to take with you. That old Chinese proverb says, "A man without a smiling face must not open a shop." It makes you think, right? What incredible, maybe unseen results could you achieve in your own entrepreneurial journey just by making that conscious, genuine effort to understand and connect with every single person you meet?
Hmm. Something to really consider.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We genuinely hope these insights help fuel your success.